Hello, this is Angelia, and you are watching or listening to the podcast, Why You Do What You Do, the podcast that talks about human development and psychology to maybe help you figure out a little bit more about why you do what you do. And today we're going to be talking about neurological change. No one likes this, but it's going to happen to all of us sooner or later. Sorry about your luck. The decline in processing speed reflects a general slowdown in central nervous system functioning. Seems to be a fundamental contributor to age-related memory loss. So, the facts are, your brain's going to get slower as you get older. None of us, like I said, like that, but it's just a fact of life. In a number of studies, controlling for perceptual speed eliminated virtually the entire age-related drop in memory performance. So, if given enough time and, sometimes some prompting and things, older folks can remember just as well as younger folks. It's the slowdown that becomes the problem. The hippocampus, which seems critical to the ability to store new information in long-term memory, loses an estimated 20% of its nerve cells with advancing age. And of course, we know advancing means, getting really older in the 80s and things like that. So, that's where, the problems start to crop up there in your hippocampus. You can Google where that is in the brain if you want to and have a look. But this is where we store new information. So our short-term memory often goes before the long-term because it's already there. It's already stored. I know of a woman who's in a nursing home right now, and that's what she says is like, I can tell you everything that happened in my childhood, but I can't tell you what I had for breakfast, and I can't tell you what I was doing 2 hours ago. So, it's unfortunate, but, it's going to happen to us all if we live long enough. Unconscious learning, apparently independent of the hippocampus, is less affected. And that might be you memorized a jingle from a commercial, or you heard a song so much you know the words to it. You didn't purposely try to, but it just kept being in your brain, bombarded in there, and so eventually you just learned it. So is recall of prior learning, which may even improve as a result of the growing complexity of neural connections in the cortex. Like I say, the more you use it, the more it stays. If you don't use it, you lose it. Atrophy in the corpus callosum may affect tasks that involve sensory motor coordination between the hemispheres. For example, the left hand's responding to a light coming from the right. You see? And this is where women have an advantage over men. Sorry, guys. But we have 3 times the connection in our corpus callosum as men do. So, it's a little slower for us for that deterioration. So, sorry guys, we got you beat there. Older adults tend to be slower than younger ones in such tasks, but the attentional functions of the corpus callosum, which tend to hold their own with age, may compensate. And again, it's like I say, if you want to keep it going, keep using it. Early decline in the prefrontal cortex may underlie such common memory problems of late adulthood as forgetting to keep an appointment, which may have to do with a failure of storage monitoring, awareness of where a memory originated. So, I think I've maybe done that once in my life ever, and that's because I was overbooked. And I missed one with somebody and ended up going to some with another person, and the person got back with me, and I was like, oh crap, I got a, date book after that, and made sure I wrote down everything so I didn't double book anymore, because that was just, it hurt my feelings that I did that to somebody. The likelihood that neurological deterioration underlies the weakening of certain abilities does not mean that nothing can be done. Like I said, if you want to keep it going, keep it going. Older adults can improve source judgments by paying attention to factual rather than emotional aspects of a situation. And a lot of older folks start to have a problem with that. They aren't thinking as logically as they once were. It's all emotional reactions to things, and people are going to notice that, you might start to take a step back, and think, well, okay, this is how I feel about this, but what is the logic in the situation? And if you can do that, and a lot of people have problems with doing that, and so with some of my life coaching clients, I would say, pretend you're Mr. Spock. If they watch Star Trek, I say, you watch Star Trek? Yeah, pretend you're Mr. Spock. Take a step back and logically think, how would Mr. Spock think about this? Or pretend, if you're trying to figure something, pretend you're Sherlock Holmes. Using just deduction, what does this look like to you? And then, you can figure out where the actuality of a thing is, and where the emotionality of a thing is. Because you can push somebody's buttons without even knowing it. You can say something that triggers somebody, and you're like, what in the bleep? That's not right. That's not what I meant at all. So, if you can take the emotions out of the situation, that can help you think logically about what's actually going on. So, if you can take aspects of the situation, who, what, when, where, how, and look at that, that can help you. And by being more careful and critical and evaluating where a memory comes from. Because there are people who swear up and down something was done or said or whatever. But you can go back and look, and say, no, this is what was said and happened. And they're like, well, I swear this was what. But sometimes, it's like I talked with another coaching client, sometimes people remember how they felt about something, not the actual something itself. And that's where older folks start to have a problem. Their thinking becomes more emotional and less logical. And like I say, if you can take a step back and try to purge the emotion and think about, well, what logically makes sense here, you can usually know if you're on track or not. The brain often compensates for an age-related decline in specialized regions by tapping other regions to help. In one study, researchers used positron emission topography, or the PET scan, to compare brain activity of college students with that of older adults during two memory tasks. So you have young folks and your old folks. When asked to remember sets of letters on a computer screen, the students used only the left hemisphere, which is the part that's, in charge of your thinking and learning. When asked to remember the location of points on the screen, they used only the right hemisphere, because that's your more spatial, and artistic side. The older adults, who did just as well as the students, used both the right and the left frontal lobes for both tasks. So that means their brain is working harder. More of it is involved in achieving the goal. So as you get older, the brain has to work harder. The brain's ability to compensate in this way may help explain why symptoms of Alzheimer's disease often do not appear until the disease is well advanced, and previously unaffected regions of the brain, which have taken over for impaired regions, also lose working capacity. So the brain is, trying to help itself by calling other regions in for backup. It's like, oh, help. Like we might, hey, ask somebody, what is that? Do you remember that? So, we're all going to change neurologically as we age. That's the bad news. Sorry. Well, that's where I'm going to leave you for today, and I hope that helped you figure out maybe a little bit more about why you do what you do. Please like and share this educational program so we can spread it around the world. If you want to help me out, subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you want to help me out even more, go to my Patreon page and become a patron. Thanks for watching. That's all. Until next time.